Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here, got another Master Duel video for you. So, yesterday we did the Sprite variant of Ice Barrier, which of course, knowing me, that's always going to be the first one that I default to. But, now we're going to go ahead and tackle Pure Ice Barrier, which has been a deck that is a lot of fun, and has been helping me rank up in Master a lot more than I thought, I was going to be able to. Not that I thought this deck was going to be bad or anything, I guess it exceeded my expectations, though, that's definitely to be sure. So, with Pure Ice Barrier, right, we're definitely looking to mainly end on Lancia, Ancestral Dragon of the Ice Mountain. Funnily enough, not actually an Ice Barrier card, because it says Ice Mountain, but not hard at all to end on this level 10 Synchro Monster. We have a ton of ways to get into it, on top of our Ice Blade, or Ice Barrier, rather, engine. We have Ice Jade, Ran Adrenine as well. So, a lot of the times if you open Ice Jade, Ran Adrenine, and then on top of a Water Monster discard, of course, like another starter for your engine, like Revealer or Mirror Mage or Hexa or something, you can just start by using Ran Adrenine to make the Lancia right off the bat. One thing to note is that when making Lancia, or really just like your first like big level 10 Synchro monster that you're going to keep on the field, if you're going to make multiple Synchros, you actually need to make the first one in the extra monster zone, which is really, really counterintuitive to put, for me anyway, it is to put a Synchro monster in the EMZ. I'm always thinking like, oh, I gotta save it in case I need a Link summon, right? But really, our Link monsters are not part of like our end board pretty much at all, except for Little Knight. But Little Knight's only here if you like have to go into her, if you get completely disrupted, right? Almirage is for if you open the Mirror Mage. You can normal summon Mirror Mage, leak it off for Almirage, and then Mirror Mage can grab like Freezing Chains to bring back the Mirror Mage, and then you can sack off the Almirage for Mirror Mage and then go into plays, right? And similar thing with the Coral Anemone. Coral Anemone is really just here to revive the Mirror Mage, and the Mirror Mage can sack off the Coral Anemone, and then you're pretty much good to go. So, yeah, when it comes to our Link monsters, again, they're not really part of our strategy. We're pretty much, for all intents and purposes, an exclusively Synchro deck. But the reason that you want to put your Synchro monsters in the EMZ is actually for the Mirror Mage, right? Because if you have two Synchro monsters in your main monster zones, right, then Mirror Mage will also occupy a zone, and from there, you can only summon 2 tokens, because you only have 2 other main monster zones left, and then Mirror Mage can only become level 4, so definitely something to be mindful of. I've definitely misplayed that way multiple times, and in spite of misplaying while I was learning this deck, we were still able to rank up in Master Rank as well, so. But Ice Barrier has a ton of things going for it. Like I said, Lancia is a great card for multiple reasons, right? Obviously, the first and foremost reason is the first effect that lets you bring out 2 Ice Barrier monsters whenever you're, well, 1 Ice Barrier monster whenever your opponent special summons, and then you can do that effect twice per turn, right? So, the 2 that we're going to go for are going to be, of course, General Raiho of the Ice Barrier. This is effectively a monster effect floodgate, right? So basically the way that this card works is if your opponent, when your opponent resolves a card effect, so it also negates at resolution, which is really good. When your opponent tries to resolve a card effect, they have to discard a card, and if they don't, the effect is negated. Now, if your opponent doesn't have any cards in hand, it's not like a, when an effect is activated, they discard a card, right? It's actually like, if they don't have any cards to discard, then the effect will be negated. So, pretty good monster to have on the board there. And then I opted for Warlock of the Ice Barrier, which, while you control another Ice Barrier monster, is effectively anti-spell fragrance. A lot of the builds that I see are on actually the Spellbreaker of the Ice Barrier, which says once per turn you can send an Ice Barrier monster from your hand to the graveyard. Neither player can activate spell cards until the end of your next turn while this monster is face up on the field. But yeah, I see like everybody playing this one, but I'm not nearly as much of a fan of Spellbreaker as I am Warlock for multiple reasons, right? For one, Warlock is actually easier for us to play around. Like, if we have any spells we need to play that are currently in our hand on the follow-up turn, we can just set it, and then on our opponent's turn, summon out the Warlock, and then I think we should be good to go. I think spell cards that are set on the field before Warlock is in play should still be able to be activated on the next turn, right? Whereas Spellbreaker, if we use Spellbreaker, we're not going to be able to use any spells at all, period, on our follow-up turn, right? But the main reason, that's not even the main reason I'm not as big a fan of a Spellbreaker is that This is a spell speed 1 activated effect that also has the cost of sending an Ice Barrier monster from our hand to the graveyard, which spell speed 1 effects, if we try to summon this off of Lancia during our opponent's turn, we're not going to be able to use it. And even if we do summon it on our turn, it's going to cost us an extra resource, right, of sending a monster. But Warlock, on the other hand, has no cost to it, and if we summon it off of Lancia during the opponent's turn, it will immediately start stopping their spell cards. Now, the main drawback of Warlock is that it's a continuous effect, so if this is destroyed or battled over, then they get to use spell cards. But really, this to me is kind of the same as like IP Masquerade in a lot of ways, where if my opponent wants to summon a random monster, just battle over Warlock, and then go to main phase 2, I'm actually pretty okay with that, because even though they've stopped a lot of the control that I have of what they can do, now they're not going to be able to use their battle phase, and they can't OTK me during that same turn, right? So I like Warlock more than Spellbreaker. I think Warlock is the better card, personally, but you could play either or. For the rest of the Ice Barrier stuff, we have 3 Hexa. This card is fantastic. As we learned in Ice Barrier Sprite, you can simply send the Mirror Mage, and then you can use the Mirror Mage F for like the Georgius, or perhaps the Freezing Chains, or Winds over Ice Barrier, which is an insane card with Mirror Mage in particular. You can Mirror Mage, get a bunch of tokens, and then use Winds to sack off those tokens for, like, you know, actual Ice Barrier monsters here. We got 3 of the Mirror Mage, because this is pretty much like the main card that kind of makes the whole shtick work, right? Warlock I already discussed. I'm just kind of going through and explaining the Ice Barrier monsters in particular and all their uses, because I know this is an archetype that a lot of people might not be familiar with. Revealer of the Ice Barrier is actually probably just your best starter, because unlike something like Hexa, right, Revealer is not a tuner. This actually a synchro deck where we have a lot more good tuners than we have like non-tuners, so any good non-tuners we can get, like Revealer, are definitely going to be very valuable. Do note that Revealer will lock you into water monsters, right? So, no Almirage if you need to, you know, link off the Mirror Mage. Although, to be fair, if you normal summon the Revealer, you're not going to normal summon Mirror Mage. No Little Knight. I guess the only other thing that's notable that's not water in our extra deck is Baron de Fleur. However, there are some lines where you can, like, for example, if you start with, let's see, if you start with, like, Hexa and then Speaker for the Ice Barriers, then you could Hexa, dump Mirror Mage, and then Mirror Mage F for the Georgius, and then Georgius bring back Mirror Mage, and then you could special Speaker, and then you could go Georgius plus Speaker into the Baron de Fleur. So that's pretty much the kind of situations where the Baron comes up. But otherwise, yeah, you're pretty much just going to be waterlocked for most of the time here. That in mind, we did pick a bunch of the best water synchros here. I think the only kind of notable one that I'm not on is the Gradle, right? Gradle Dragon, which is a fine card, but it's a UR, and I don't know. It's not that I'm like completely opposed to like generating URs for this deck. I mean, I did craft, you know, like the level 11 Trishula, and what else did I craft? Gamir Agronine. I didn't have one of those before, so I crafted her. But the Gradle Dragon is like, it's a card that's more of a turn 2 play. And there is also kind of an SR version of White Aura Whale, which is like debatably not even necessarily a budget version, but just an alternate version of Gradle Dragon. Gradle Dragon can pop any amount of cards up to the number of water monsters that, you know, we use for the Synchro Summon. White Aura Whale destroys all of their attack position monsters, but it can also attack twice and do piercing, so, you know, that's definitely worth noting as well. That said, if you see this card in Ice Barrier decks, you don't have it, don't feel like you have to make this, you could just make the White Aura Whale instead. Also, we're using new Bryonac over old Bryonac because old Bryonac is a UR, and I really don't think that either Bryonac is really that great. It's something that like might come up once in a blue moon, but yeah, again, old Bryonac rather isn't worth, I think, the 30 UR materials for the deck. I would just use new Bryonac, I think it's fine. Okay. What else is there? I almost don't feel like I need to do a deck breakdown this time because I feel like I already talked about every individual card, right? Well, most of them. Speaker for the Ice Barriers. This is the one that we're playing 2 of. Pretty much all of our Ice Barrier stuff is either 3 or 1 except for this. This card is a really good extender, but it is pretty much just that, an extender, so that's why we're only on the 2 copies. You definitely don't need it to combo off, but it's very nice to have in your opening hand. Medallion of the Ice Barriers, they're Rhoda. This card is broken because it's not once per turn at all. And yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything. So, yeah, since we already talked about a lot of the individual cards, let's just go ahead and start taking a look at those replays there. Alright, so let's start off with a game where we're taking on Snake Eye. Definitely one that I think people would be interested in seeing, is how Ice Barrier handles one of the most notorious meta decks of the last year. So, we're taking the first turn, and this opening hand is honestly just phenomenal. Borderline custom hand here. So, leading with the Ran Adrenine. I like to lead with this going into the Lancia when possible. That way, another nice thing about Lancia that I actually didn't talk about in the deck profile, right, is that by leading with this on your turn 1, if your opponent, let's say your opponent Nibiru's you, right, that will actually trigger the last effect of Lancia here. So you can special summon an Ice Barrier Synchro monster from your extra deck, and we treat it as a Synchro summon. Because you might wonder, well, why wouldn't you want to summon like Trishula's off of the first effect of Lancia? It's because this special summon is not actually treated as a Synchro summon, right? So if I were to pull, like, level 11 Trishula off of Lancia's first effect, then I would not get to banish anything at all. But if I got nibbed, and I guess on turn 1 it'd be more like level 9 Trishula. On turn 1, if you get nibbed, you can pull out level 9 Trishula, banish their nib, as well as a card from their hand. So definitely worth noting. Again, that's why I like to lead going into Lancia on my turn if at all possible. So they have an Effect Veiler for the Gregorius, which is going to hamper a lot of my ability to combo. Basically, if I hadn't gotten Veilered here, I think I could have ended on Lancia, Baron de Fleur, as well as Dragite plus a draw at the bare minimum. But here I'm just going to go into the Baron and then pass. I probably should have held that Foolish Burial, honestly, and not just used it right now. I think the reason that I Foolished was because I thought I might be able to combo off still, but no. I mean, I could. I would just have to use Mirror Mage to stack either Lancia or Baron, and I'd definitely rather keep those in play. So we're just going to Imperm on the Lancia. I am actually going to use the Baron de Fleur on it because I really highly value this Lancia. This is crucial to the Ice Barrier end board, as we're about to see here. So they're going to lead with normal Snake Eyes Poplar, going for the Original Sin, activating Original Sin rather than going into Link Rebo, probably to make sure that I didn't get the summon off of Lancia before they got the Oak out here. So they might have been thinking that they could dodge the General Raiho negate if they did it this way, but as I said before, and as you can see, General Raiho negates on resolution, or, you know, starts applying its effect rather on resolution. So they did in fact have to discard off of Oak, even though Raiho was summoned in the same chain. So with the next special summon, I'm going to throw down the Warlock of the Ice Barrier, just in case they have like some spell extenders in hand. Alright, now they're going for Link Rebo, Oak F. They're going to have to sack the Bonfire, or discard the Bonfire, which is a spell they weren't able to activate. Flamberge is going to be used on the Raiho, going to make them discard their last card, which is Crossout Designator. Alright, now Flamberge and Link Rebo are going to get linked off for the SP Little Knight. Little Knight targeting the Lancia, which is going to be a huge mistake on the opponent's part. And, like, you're about to see why I'm not really concerned here. Because it looks like my opponent's doing a lot, and, like, I don't have a lot, right? But since Lancia got removed from the field, now I can bring out level 11 Trishula. And that's the thing again about Lancia, is that it just has to leave the field because of an opponent's card. It doesn't matter how. If it had gotten bounced or destroyed or banished like it did here, it'll always proc. Funnily enough, my opponent should have actually pushed this back into the spell trap zone, because that's kind of the one thing that would not have procced the second effect of Lancia here. But yeah, so now this special summon is treated as a Synchro summon, meaning my level 11 Trishula can banish 3 cards on the opponent's field, eating the last of my opponent's resources and thus securing me the game. So, excuse me. Yeah, no, I wanted to start with that duel because it really, I feel like, highlights, one, it shows off some really solid turn 1 Ice Barrier stuff, even through Disruption. But more than that, I think it shows how, like, Lancia might not look like a lot by itself, but that card by itself can actually carry your board super hard in terms of, like, again, not only spitting floodgates onto your board to stop your opponent from doing stuff, but also, if your opponent does actually remove it, you still get to fire back with either level 9 or 11 Trishula, whichever one is better in the current situation, really. So, alright, there is our first duel. Let's take a look at the next one. Okay, this one's going to be against Centurion, which I was looking at untapped stats, and I was honestly very surprised that Centurion is, like, almost on par with Snake Eye with how popular it is, and the win rate also pretty much the same. Again, very, very surprised to see that. Okay, so here, even though I opened Ran Azurnine, I'm actually going to lead with the Revealer, because I don't have another water monster. I mean, I could have Revealered... Well, no, Revealer is my only other water monster, so I would have had to have discarded it, so... Alright, we are going to get Drolled, but that actually doesn't really matter for this deck. Pretty much at all, actually, beyond the Mirror Mage search. I don't know... Well, I guess if you get Drolled on the Medallion, that sucks, but... yeah, here you can see me misplaying, making Lancia in the main monster zone. Although, to be fair, I think with this setup, we would have had enough zones open anyway. But I do think you should be putting Lancia in the EMZ just to be safe and make sure you have enough room. Alright, so here what I'm going to do, since, as you can see, our Mirror Mage got impermed, right? Meaning I wasn't able to put out any more level, or any synchros at all. I don't know why I said a specific level, but... so here I'm going to use my Winds over the Ice Barrier, distribute it, and get the Warlock out. I want Warlock out to stop their spells right away from the get-go, right? Especially in case they have a Board Breaker card. Yep, and sure enough, they have to set one and then just pass right back over. Excuse me. Draw phase Maxi. I still think this is a misplay. Because... Like, especially here, you don't even know for sure that I'm going to have plays, right? Like, you look at my board state, it's just Warlock, Lancia, and a back row, plus whatever card I top decked, right? So, I don't know, this is definitely, like, I can understand the argument for shotgunning draw phase Maxi, you know, during turn 1, even though I still don't think that's right. But this is a situation where I would definitely not have done that at all. Anyway, Winds of Ice Barrier Graveyard effect will add back the Revealer, which I'll normal summon, but not playing into this Maxi. I definitely do not want to give them any draws. We do get to deal quite a bit of damage to them here. I definitely did not need to turn Warlock to attack mode here, but at the same time, it's like, the difference between 400 and 1000 as far as stats go is like relatively negligible, so... Alright, so I'm going to Max C when they go to special summon the Centurion pre-meta. They do have the Called by the Grave here for it, though. It's not that big of a deal, though. We still have Imperm, and more importantly, we still have the Lancia, so... We're probably not even going to need this Imperm, to be totally honest, to stop their monster effects. Yep, so pre-meta is special summon. I'm going to use the Lancia effect to, of course, pull out the General Raiho from our deck. And again, General Raiho is applied immediately on resolution, so it will apply its effect for the monster that is currently being special summoned as well. And yeah, like, yeah, they can search their field spell, but they have to set it. And the other nice thing about the Lancia, actually, is the fact that it does change battle position as well, which, like, then you can change the battle one attack position monster opponent controls specifically to defense position. That might not seem important, but it actually is. There are games like this one where by turning the pre-meta to defense mode, I think we did that, or maybe they might have summoned it defense mode, but by turning the pre-meta to defense mode, we protect our Warlock from getting run over. I've also had games where my opponent will summon like a Diabell Star, right? And then I can use Lancia to turn that to defense mode, and they can't run over the General Raiho, right? So... very, very good minor effect. Like, God, this card is so good. I can't even begin to describe just how good Lancia is. But we still have a couple more games to check out. So let's see. Alright, this one is against Dinomorphia. I actually remember this game. This game is going to be more about hand trap usage, I think, than Ice Barrier stuff. Because our opponent's taking the first turn. And we open Ash Blossom plus a ton. That's the other thing about this deck, too, is like, this deck, this archetype has so much gas in it. Like, while it has one-card combos, you often don't even need to, like, remember those one-card combo lines, because you'll always, like, not always, but you'll usually open hands like this with just, like, a ton of Ice Barrier stuff. Alright, so they're going to lead with Dinomorphia Theresa, setting the Intact as well as 2 other cards. Dinomorphia Intact being the one that can negate monster effects, so... that's definitely something to keep in mind, because Ash Blossom is really good against Dinomorphia. Kind of like Lab, it can stop all of their main trap cards, but now they have the Intact, I'm like, okay, so I gotta bait out the Intact before I can Ash Blossom their, you know, main card here. Anyway, gonna lead with the Revealer here. Pitch the Mirror Mage. Special Hexa. I honestly only specialed Hexa because I didn't really feel like I had anything else to special. Although, to be fair, I should have grabbed the Speaker. Yeah, I should have grabbed Speaker. Oh, no, I can only summon Tuners. Never mind, JK. That's why I summoned Hexa. So thankfully the Intact got activated before they played one of their Fusion Trap cards. So, on the George here. Someone in the comment section was like, I think it's like George Eos. Which looks like it makes sense, even though that is weird. Anyway. Gonna mill a Mirror Mage to make my Hexa level 2. Ash Blossom on the Frenzy. There it is. And they're actually gonna concede right there. Which just goes to show how important it is to save certain hand traps for certain moments. Another thing I wanted to point out during that exchange, particularly when they activated Ash Blossom to negate my Mirror Mage, right? You'll notice I didn't use Call By there, just let that go. Because I had so much gas in my hand, I knew I didn't need the Mirror Mage search in order to be able to win the game, right? In order to have plays. And of course, the main other reason is that I knew I needed my Ash Blossom to stop their Dinomorphia trap card. I was really worried about the other face down card being the other Dinomorphia trap card, but looks like we were good to go here. So I actually have one last game for this video here, so let's finish off with that. And that last game is actually going to be against Shinobirds. Shinobirds are a deck that got support in not this pack, but the last one, the one before with like Yubel stuff. It's an interesting archetype. I don't really know much of anything about it, but yeah, I saw pre-prep and I was like, oh, is it the Voiceless Voice? But then I saw no, it's the Shinobird stuff. I actually haven't come across Voiceless Voice all that much, probably because the deck is just expensive, but I think I've literally played against it twice, honestly, since the new pack has come out. It did beat me once when I was playing this deck, or it might have been the Sprite variant, I don't remember. The other time I played against it was when I was playing Math Mech, which is probably going to be the next deck profile I do, is Math Mech with the Enigma Master pack bit. And they just kind of like... What happened? Oh yeah, I Veiler their low, and they just conceded. Or something like that. Anyway. Alright, so here's their field spell that they do the ritual summoning with. I gotta be honest with you, kind of like in this commentary so far, during this actual game, I saw that I had no hand traps, and I was like, alright, well, I don't know what Shinobird typically ends on, so I guess we'll just see what happens here. Looks like they're making use of the Incantation archetype as well to assist with their ritual summoning. Alright, Shinobird's calling, tributing their board for the Peacock. And then normaling the Sakitama. That's right, because their stuff is all spirit stuff. So I was like, okay, I know they're probably going to try to ritual summon on my turn, which would make sense. They do get to set Stars Align across the Milky Way, which searches... but doesn't really do much else besides that. And then, yeah, Sakitama's gonna bounce back to hand. So they just kind of end with a couple of tokens and nothing else. But I'm kind of assuming under the operation they're going to try to ritual summon on my turn. Gonna try to lead the Ran Azurnine. They're gonna use Stars Across the Milky Way. That's fine. Although I don't think they actually... because that's a spell speed 1 effect. Anyway, we're making the Lancia right off the bat, as always. And again, I misplayed here by not making it in the main monster zone. So they went to Ash Blossom Medallion. I gotta tell you, if you're ever playing against the Ice Barrier, don't ever Ash Blossom Medallion. There's so many better Ash targets, and Medallion itself is, again, not even once per turn, so it is entirely I've had that happen, actually. I had a game where I went, activate Medallion, they Ash Blossomed it, and I just activated a second Medallion and they conceded. This is one game where I'm definitely feeling the misplay of putting Lancia in the main zone, because, yeah, here I'm making Coral an enemy, just kind of awkwardly bringing back the Mirror Mage. But if I just put Lancia in the EMZ in the first place, then I could have just used the Mirror Mage F to basically go into Coral Dragon and then into Dragite here. Which obviously would have been a lot better than just awkwardly ending on Coral an enemy and the Mirror Mage. I guess I could have still made a level 6, like I could have made the Coral Dragon anyway. but I decided to set Call By and Pass here. I've got the Lancia, I've got Shenying. I'm just kind of surprised they didn't do anything on my turn. This is the only time I've ever played against Shinobers, so I was just kind of assuming, right? I was like, surely they're going to try to Ritual Summon on my turn, because I know one of their Ritual monsters is all about, like, bouncing stuff, too, right? So I'm going to not only use Lancia, but also Call By on the other copy of Shade Peacock that's in their graveyard here. Banish that to negate the on-field effect and stop their target, too. Turning that to defense mode so they can just battle over my stuff. Now I have General Raiho in play. Also get to banish their field spell with the Shenying as well. They had the Amano Iwado, but linked directly off into the Dynamundo. Because the Amano Iwado, fun fact, that wouldn't even actually stop the General Raiho here. Because Amano Iwado says monsters cannot activate their effects except spirit monsters. But General Raiho's effect does not activate. This is a continuous effect that applies on the resolution of the card, which is, again, why we're able to use it against, like, why you're able to, like, special summon it, and then use it against the monster that was just special summoned in the same chain link, so. Excuse me, sorry about that. Got another summon here off Lancia with the Warlock. That's going to be the, or for the Warlock, yeah. Summon off Lancia there, in case they have another Ritual spell. I mean, either way, they're definitely not doing any more Ritual summoning, because they've also already used the field spell anyway this turn. And yeah, I mean, that's going to do it, because even if they battle here, right, they still just don't have the means to get over my, like, board as a whole. So, alright. That'll go ahead and do it for that game, as well as this video. So thank you, as always, Zephyr, for checking it out. And we're just going to move right on to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Just want to give you a huge thanks for watching all the way to the very end of the video. Believe it or not, that is actually one of the best ways that you can support the channel, is by watching the videos in their entirety. But there are many ways in which you can support the channel if you are so interested. The names that you're seeing on screen here, I gotta give an extra special thanks to, because these are people who have chosen to either become a member on YouTube, which if you're interested you can do as well via the join button next to the subscribe button down there, or have signed up over on Patreon and become members there. Link to that is going to be in the description below. Without the support that is being offered by, again, all the people that you're seeing on screen right here, I would not be able to take the time to dedicate to uploading daily YouTube videos. So thank you so very much. But there are also other ways you can support as well. Again, link to the description below. If you like my deck tracker that you'll see in a lot of my videos, the Untapped Companion, you can download that for free, and if you use my affiliate link down there, then that also goes a long way towards supporting the channel. That's, again, free. So is subscribing here on YouTube. That's also free and a huge way to support. You can also check out Twitch, once again linked in the description below. Following and subscribing over there will not only support as well, but also give you notifications of when I go live if you want to catch some of the live streams. But really, no matter how you choose to support, it all adds up, and it all definitely means the world. So thank you, each and every one of you. For now, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out. But more than that, I'm hoping that you have a fantastic day.